Of course, it hasn't been released yet, and I can't show you its complete shape yet, but we can first understand the game performance of OnePlus 15 today, so let's not talk too much nonsense and start directly. In the Q2D video, we have talked about the architecture of 8 Elite Gen 5 in detail. Like 8 Elite, it is still composed of 2 supercores and 6 central cores. The cache part continues the previous generation's design, that large cores and small nuclides share 12 megabytes of L2 cache and 8 megabytes of Studio SLC respectively, plus a GPU with 50% cache increase. The overall core area is basically the same as that of the previous generation. We also tested the performance of 8 Elite Gen 5 on the OnePlus 15 mass production machine. So under the condition of forced heat dissipation, this OnePlus 15 ran out of the peak score of 3,836 points for 6 single cores and 12352 points for multiple cores. This multi-core achievement has undoubtedly won the title of the flagship SoC of mobile phones this year, and the single core has also achieved the level second only to a 19 series by virtue of the enhancement of SME2. Of course, energy efficiency performance is more important than peak performance. The multi-nuclear energy efficiency of 8 Elite Gen 5 is good, and it easily exceeds Dimensity 9500. In the middle and high frequency band, its curve is also inserted between A19 Pro and A19, which is not far from a 19 Pro. It can be regarded as a steady upgrade. What about GPU? This time, 8 Elite Gen 5 of OnePlus 15 ran a peak score of 3,143 points, and this peak performance is between A19 Pro and Dimensity 9500. The peak performance of the 3 GPUs this year is relatively close. If we look at the energy efficiency curve in combination with power consumption, this curve of 8 Elite Gen 5 also falls firmly between A19 Pro and Dimensity 9500. It is worth noting that in the power consumption range of about 5 to 8 watts, in fact, Adreno 840 GPU will not lag much behind Dimensity 9500. Then this is probably the benefit brought by increasing GPU cache. During this period, we have also tested the detailed energy efficiency performance of each CPU core of Adreno 840 at various frequency points, as well as GPU throughput and optical cone performance tests. We will talk with you about the detailed performance analysis in the next video. Next, let's take a direct look at the actual performance of this OnePlus 15 in the game. Then let's start with a hurdle that every mobile phone must pass to collapse the Star Dome Railway. We ran 2 resolutions. Let's take a look at the performance of the high-resolution 720p first. Compared with the latest iPhone 17 Pro Max, OnePlus 15 can certainly run at an average of 59.6 frames without pressure, and the power consumption of the whole machine is 5.9 watts. Compared with Dimensity 9500 model, the power consumption is slightly lower, although the maximum body temperature of 44 to 47 degrees is not so low. It is still acceptable, but on the whole, the performance of the 3 flagship models in the ontology is quite close. Compared with the previous generation 8 Elite models, the power consumption has been significantly reduced. When we pull the resolution to a very high 991p, then OnePlus 15 can still maintain an average frame of 59.4 frames, and the power consumption of the whole machine has reached 73 watts. This is close to the performance of Dimensity 9500 model. At this time, it is difficult for the S5 Pro of the previous generation 8 Elite to maintain nearly 60 frames, and it will drop to an average of 53 frames, so you can still see the improvement of game energy efficiency in 8 Elite Gen 5. We also ran 30 degrees, and the 770 iron collapse devil test under 5G, so at this time, OnePlus 15 still held on, with an average of 59.4 stitches, and the fuselage temperature was controlled at 47 degrees, which was quite hot, but this performance was better than that of Dimensity 9500 model and various 8 Elite and 9400 models. It's much better. Let's look at the performance of Ming Dynasty. At 864p resolution, OnePlus 15 can run stably at 59.8 frames, and the power consumption is only 51 watts. Compared with the previous generation of 8 Elite model, the energy efficiency has made obvious progress, and the power consumption is far lower than that of Dimensity 9500 model. At this time, the highest temperature of the fuselage is only 42 degrees, and the performance is really good. It should be said that Ming Dynasty is a typical game of communication advantages. This generation of the 8 Elite Gen 5 has undoubtedly achieved another success. In the end, we also ran the ultimate image quality of 120 frames of the King, and the 1% low frame of OnePlus 15 performed well. There are no frame drops throughout the game, but the power consumption of 35 watts is not lower than that of the previous generation 8 Elite model. As we said earlier, if the new processor does not greatly improve the low-frequency energy efficiency, the optimization space for the glory of the King will be very small. That OnePlus 15 performs very well in regular games, but obviously OnePlus is not satisfied with this. So in order to bring the ultimate game experience, this year's OnePlus 15 also brings another ace in the hole. That is 165 ultra-high brush game. Yes, its screen refresh rate has been upgraded to 165 Hz this time. For PC players, a high brush display exceeding 120 Hz is already a necessary weapon for almost all FPS players. What about the refresh rate of 165 Hz? If you can run full That means 45 more frames per second than 120 Hz, which means that for FPS games, where every minute counts, a higher refresh rate means more information to a certain extent, and also means higher KDA and winning rate. In fact, the mainstream refresh rate of mobile phones has actually stayed at 120 Hz for a long time. Even if there were sporadic mobile phones with 160 Hz high brush in the past, they would face two problems. One is that it is difficult to achieve 165 full frames for a long time in terms of performance, and the other is that the ecological support for games has not been very good. However, the OnePlus 15 is committed to solving these two problems this time, which brings a perfect ultra-high brush experience and ecology. We clicked on the screens of 165 Hz and 120 Hz products at the same time through the connector in the mobile game across FireWire. So in the test of emptying the magazine, we can clearly see that the OnePlus 15, with 165 Hz, has achieved more than 120 Hz mobile phones in the same time. Firing a few more bullets also means that it can bring more damage to the opponent. It can be said that in FPS games, the improvement of 160 Hz refresh rate of OnePlus 15 is really helpful. No wonder the official said that this Plus 15 is the first choice of Gun God. This time, we also tested Delta Action to see if the performance of OnePlus 15 can really be played in the 165-pin mode. Then we adjusted the image quality to the highest level and started the 165 Hz mode. After half an hour and 165 frames of Delta Force test, you can see the average frame rate of OnePlus 15. It is stable at 164.8 frames, and 1% low frames have reached 148.4 frames. So this is basically full frame operation in the whole process, with an average power consumption of only 47 watts. This performance, plus the fluency and follow-up ability brought by 165 ultra-high brushes, can be said that OnePlus 15 is playing large-scale FPS games such as 3 Jiao Zhou action. There is indeed something. This time, OnePlus 15 not only made 165 ultra-high difference products, but also cooperated with many game manufacturers to complete the adaptation of 165 frames of games. At present, Delta Force, Dark Area Breakthrough, Call of Duty Hand Tour, Naruto Go-Kart, and other games. All of them have adapted to the 165 refresh rate of OnePlus 15, and more games will adapt to 165 frames in the future. If you are a competitive mobile game player, I think you can look forward to the game experience after getting OnePlus 15. After watching the performance of OnePlus 15 in the game frame rate, power consumption, and temperature of this new machine can be said to be remarkable. In addition, it introduces 165 Hz ultra-high brush, which can be said that the game performance of OnePlus 15 is really excellent. I can only blame one company for defining it as ultra performance, but I am also curious about the battery life of this OnePlus 15 and other comprehensive experiences, so let's wait until the machine is released before revealing it to you. Alright, I like this program. Don't forget to like it, collect, forward, then this is Riz Tech. I'm Riz. We'll see you soon. Game on.